In a quaint village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a poor but diligent shoemaker and his wife. Despite their hard work, their humble shop struggled to attract customers, and they found themselves barely making enough to sustain themselves. One winter's night, as the snow fell softly outside, the shoemaker sat by the fireplace, assessing the small stack of leather left on his workbench. With a sigh, he traced the outline of a pair of shoes on the last piece of leather, hoping that somehow things would get better. As his wife prepared a simple supper, the shoemaker finished cutting the leather pieces for the shoes and laid them out on the workbench. Weary from the day's labor, he went to bed with a heavy heart, unsure of what the next day would bring. But when the shoemaker entered his workshop the next morning, he couldn't believe his eyes. There, on his workbench, sat a pair of exquisitely crafted shoes. They were unlike any shoes he had ever made. Each stitch was perfect, and the design was intricate and beautiful. The shoemaker was astonished and filled with wonder. His wife was equally amazed when she saw the shoes. They were of such fine quality that they were sure to fetch a handsome price. The shoemaker carefully placed the shoes in the shop window, hoping they would catch the eye of a wealthy customer. Sure enough, the shoes quickly attracted the attention of a nobleman passing through the village. The nobleman was so impressed by the craftsmanship that he purchased the shoes at a generous price. The shoemaker and his wife were overjoyed and used the money to buy more leather and supplies. The following night, the shoemaker decided to stay awake and solve the mystery of the magical shoes. He hid himself behind a stack of leather and watched intently as the clock struck midnight. To his astonishment, a group of tiny elves appeared in his workshop. They were no taller than his thumb and wore tattered clothes. The elves danced and sang as they worked with incredible speed and skill. They transformed the leather pieces into a beautiful pair of shoes, and then they quietly slipped away, leaving the finished product on the workbench. The shoemaker was spellbound, realizing that these tiny creatures were the ones responsible for his newfound success. Determined to show his gratitude, the shoemaker and his wife decided to do something special for the elves. They spent the entire day crafting tiny clothes out of fine fabrics. Each piece was intricately detailed, and they laid the clothes out on the workbench that night. When the elves returned, they were overjoyed to find the miniature garments. They danced and twirled in their new clothes, singing melodies of happiness. One elf stepped forward and spoke on behalf of the group, thanking the shoemaker and his wife for their kindness. The elf explained that they were traveling creatures who had fallen on hard times. The clothes were a precious gift, and as a token of their appreciation, they promised to help the shoemaker no more. Although the elves' assistance came to an end, the shoemaker's skill and reputation had been restored. Word of his exceptional craftsmanship spread far and wide, attracting customers from neighboring villages and even the distant towns. The shoemaker and his wife prospered, and they lived out their days in comfort and happiness. The story of the elves and the shoemaker was passed down through generations, serving as a reminder of the magic that kindness and gratitude can bring into one's life. And as for the tiny elves, they continued on their journey, forever grateful for the compassion that had helped them in their time of need. Moral of the story: kindness and gratitude have the power to transform both our circumstances and the lives of others. When the shoemaker and his wife showed compassion to the elves, they not only received assistance but also gained prosperity and happiness. This story teaches us that acts of generosity and appreciation can create a ripple effect of positive change, leaving a lasting impact on both those who give and those who receive.